Well, it's been quite a week in the world of Virgin Voyages, and unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that there are new changes coming up to do with VoyageFair Choices and gratuities. Now, it's fair to say a lot of these updates have been met with a little bit of confusion and controversy, so I thought I'd jump on and put this video together to talk about the facts and what is actually changing, and if there are things to be concerned about, let's worry about the real things. There is, of course, a lot of genuine feedback from people that find these changes a little bit controversial, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you that that feedback is wrong, and I'm going to tell you exactly what we personally think about these changes towards the end of this video as well, so stick around and hear what we think. I'm David from VV Insider, and earlier this week I put together a video that should explain all these changes in a really simple format. So if you haven't seen that video and you're still confused about the changes, maybe pop along and watch that video first. So many of these changes actually don't impact the overall Virgin Voyages experience at all. Most of the controversy and the problems this week have stemmed from the way that this has been reported on social media. The very first news of this broke over on Reddit at 9 AM. And unfortunately, the post that went out was kind of half-baked and didn't include all the information. And that led to an incredible amount of rumours and misinformation flying around that we're still seeing on social media and on message boards right now. So hopefully this video will stem the flow of all that speculation. So let's go through everything. Let's look at these frequently asked questions and let's get down to the facts. VV Insider is the #1 resource for the latest Virgin Voyages info, guides and news. From picking the perfect cabin to booking dining, or simply just making the most of your voyage and saving money while you do it, VVinsider.com has helped thousands of sailors around the world sail smarter. Support our work by hitting subscribe and stick around to hear how you can get exclusive perks by booking directly with us. Let's jump right into it. So let's firstly talk about loyalty and perks, because this is one of the big questions that we keep seeing coming up, and it's also one of the biggest rumors about this whole change, which is very bizarre to me. So let's dig in. So the first question is, have they cancelled Deep Blue Extras? No, they haven't. I have no idea where this rumor has come from. What I do believe it stems from is something on Reddit, which of course everything does, but I do believe it might stem from the new app maybe isn't showing people's Deep Blue Extra statuses on some voyages. I think that might be the problem, but don't worry, Deep Blue Extras is going nowhere right now. With this announcement, they didn't mention loyalty at all, so there are no changes to the loyalty program. Those that have sailed in the past and achieved Deep Blue Extras, you will continue to receive all that. And anyone who is lucky enough to be in Club 485C, you will continue to be in Club 485C. There are no changes to the loyalty program with this announcement at all. Let me put your fears to bed there. The next question would be, does this affect the sailing club at all? And like I say, the loyalty program still stays. And also something worth pointing out here is it doesn't matter which VoyageFair choice you choose, you will still continue to earn your loyalty status just as you did before. So even if you choose the base fare or lockers-in fare, it doesn't make any difference. You're still earning a credit towards your loyalty program. So you will continue to rise through the ranks if you sail more. That will always be the case. Next one about those loyal sailors that want to sail again. Can I use my next Virgin Voyage or MNVV placeholder? Yes, you can. You can use that on any of the fare choices. So you can use that MNVV and choose a base fare, an essential fare, or a premium fare. It's entirely up to you. So if you have an MNVV already, keep a hold of it. You can still use it. There's no problems there. Now let's tackle selling your voyage on. So the question is, can I still sell my voyage to my friends and family? The answer here is yes, you certainly can, except for the fact that you will probably need a premium fare in the new system in order to achieve that. Because if you're selling it to somebody and you're not sailing on that voyage yourself as the main sailor, you will need to have a premium fare in order to switch the sailors out. The only alternative here, if you're on the essential fare, if you're the main sailor and you're simply bringing somebody else along on the voyage with you instead of the person who was coming, you will still be able to do that on the essential fare because you can change out any fellow sailor. You just can't change yourself as the main sailor on the essential fare. And of course, if this booking is on the legacy fare, so something you've booked before the 7th of October, you can change the main sailor just as you can with the premium option. So if you have any intentions of making a booking that you're going to sell to somebody else or move to somebody else, probably make sure you're booking it before the 7th of October. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay extra for the premium fare. Now let's move on to a new section that we're going to call booking and pricing. So the first question in this section is, are the prices going up? And this obviously is a very fair question to ask. But first of all, let's look at the VoyageFair choices. So with the essential fare, which is effectively the fare that is replacing the legacy fare of old, that will still stay the same price as today. So that's not changing. If you decide to go for the base fare, you will receive a small discount. And of course, if you want that extra flexibility and those additional perks, if you go for the premium fare, then of course the price does go up because you're paying that extra $45 per sailor per night, but that is totally your choice. But when it comes to gratuities, people's fears here are, of course, if you're having to add gratuities on top of your voyage fare, then of course the price is going up because you're adding gratuities on. Well, as we explained in our explainer video, actually the gratuities are simply a part of what you're currently paying for your voyage fare. So when the voyage fare is presented on the website now, what will happen is that gratuities amount will be taken off, simply to be added on again when you prepay for your gratuities at $20 per night. Or if you decide to pay for your gratuities when you get on board, then yes, it is going to be slightly more expensive because it's going to be charged at $22 per night. So if you want to make sure you're not paying any extra than you really need to for your voyage, just make sure you're prepaying your gratuities before you sail. Otherwise, you are going to have to pay a little bit more. Now, there is a theory that's been going around on comments around social media, which is they're simply doing this as a stealth tactic so that they can reduce the price for now, and then they're just going to creep that price back up. So you're effectively paying what you would always pay plus gratuities. In the conversations that we've had with the Virgin Voyages leadership, they're not intending to do this, but of course they would say that, I suppose, if you're going to be cynical. But what we will do, and what we always do on vvinsider.com, is we track the pricing of every single voyage. If you've never seen this before, if you go on any of the voyages on vvinsider/book, you will actually see each of the prices for each of the cabin categories listed and what the prices were historically. So you can actually see whether prices have gone up or down. Now, what I'm going to try and do, I build and develop these things, I'm going to try and see whether I can show the pricing with the gratuities included so that you can get a real idea of where the prices have moved. And together, what we can do as a community is keep an eye on these prices and really hold Virgin Voyages to this promise where they're not going to be creeping that price up. Now, of course, we're all fully aware of inflation and prices, so prices will creep up eventually anyway. But what we don't want to see is that gratuity cost just simply being tacked on in the next few months. So let's all take a look at that and keep an eye on VV Insider for that price tracking updates to see, make sure that those prices aren't creeping up. And if they are, let us know and we'll be keeping an eye on it too. But if we're going to take the Virgin Voyages leadership at their word, we've got nothing to worry about. Another question we've seen banded around is, will that base price be actually discounted? Well, from some conversations that, again, we've had with the Virgin Voyages leadership, we believe the base price will be priced at about 5 to 10% less than the essential fare. Now, this will obviously come down to inventory management. If there's a sailing that is particularly popular, they probably won't reduce it that much, but we're certainly going to have to keep an eye on that. But it's all going to boil down to whether that discount is worth it. As a lot of people have pointed out over the past couple of days, the fact that you've only got 15 days to book your dining is not necessarily a fantastic thing. It's likely that most of the restaurants will be booked out for all the times that you want by 15 days comes along. But if it's worth it for that discount, if that discount is worth it, then you may as well go for it. But really, that's going to be your judgment call. So when you go on the website and you look at the prices, what are you going to decide to do? Do you want to have that extra dining window, or do you want the cheaper price? That's going to be entirely up to you. Another question we've seen a lot is, I'm thinking of making a booking. Should I do it now? Well, in our opinion, yes, you really should. And that's not because the changes coming on the 7th of October are horrendous. It's simply because Virgin Voyages are valuing those that are choosing a legacy booking by giving them that 60-day dining window. If you book after the 7th of October, you would have to pay for the premium fare to get that option. And also, you're able to change the main sailor name out as well. So those are two pretty significant perks of the premium fare that you'll essentially get for free if you make your booking before the 7th of October. So if you're planning on making a booking, again, head over to the VV Insider website. That's vvinsider.com/book. And we can make sure we can get that booked in before the 7th of October to secure those legacy perks. Not only that, you'll be supporting our website and the work that we do here. So you've probably seen we've been working very hard over the past week. So we very much appreciate your appreciation. But also you'll be joining our Red Diamond Club, which means that you'll get ad-free access to our entire website, all of the tools, all of the guides that we have on there. And also you'll collect diamonds as part of our loyalty program as well. So there is literally no better way to book a Virgin Voyages vacation than vvinsider.com. So head over and we can try and help you book your perfect voyage. And that's whether it's before the 7th of October or after the 7th of October. We'll always make sure we make the best plans possible for you. Now, linked with that previous question is, I've got a sailing coming up in 2026 or 2027. Should I cancel it? Am I going to have to pay more? Well, no, do not. It's going to be exactly the same as what you agreed to when you signed up in the first place. What's more, because you signed up for that legacy fare before the changes came into place, you're actually getting a 60-day dining window. So it's actually even better than the one that you signed up for in the first place. And rest assured, you're not having to pay those extra gratuities when you get on board, because again, you've already paid for it. You paid for it as your all-inclusive fare. It's only if you make a booking after the 7th of October that you'll need to start paying those gratuities separately. One thing I will note here is that if you do make a change to your booking after the 7th of October, you will be asked to select one of those new VoyageFair choices. So for example, if you want to switch the name of a sailor out, it will be then up to you to decide whether you want to go on base, essential, or premium. In that instance, you will then be locked in to that new fare choice. So just make sure if you're making any amendments to your bookings, do that before the 7th of October as well. Otherwise, you're going to have to choose one of these new fare options. And of course, that also means you'll have to pay your gratuities separately. So the cost of your voyage might come down slightly, but of course you're going to have to pay those gratuities anyway. Next question is, are those Sail and Save weekly promotions still available? If you're not familiar with what the Sail and Save promotions are, those are the promotions that offer the best value when it comes to Virgin Voyages. Generally, they're the cheapest type of sailings possible. And actually, they're often offered on a huge range of different itineraries. They're well worth taking a look at, and nothing changes in this regard. They're still going to be publicizing these Sail and Save offers well into the future. So if you do want to snag a bargain, you'll now not only be able to get a really good price, you'll also now have the benefit of choosing whether you want a base fare or an essential fare, or if you like that added flexibility and those premium perks, you can choose the premium fare. So you still have the weekly Sail and Save offers, but now you have that added level of flexibility. Let's move over into dining. So the first question is, will I need to eat at the galley every night? Well, of course, this is a bit of a glib question, but it might be a fair question for those that only have a 15-day dining reservation window, like those that are booking on the lock-it-in rate or the base fare. Now, it's worth saying that the galley dinner is not the worst thing in the world. Actually, the options that they have in the galley for dinner, the dinner specials, are often really, really good. And they do have a beef Wellington, and normally happens on the last night, and it is really delicious. So if it is on there, give it a try. But I know what you're trying to say. You're saying all the restaurants are all going to be booked out and I'm going to have no options available to me. Now, the reality will really depend on how busy your sailing is going to be. If it's a really busy sailing and it's a sailing where you don't have any overnights in ports, for example, you might struggle to get a dinner reservation, in which case you might need to just play it by ear and try and make bookings when you get on board. Or you can always go up to the restaurant on the night. Often they might have some walk-up availability towards the end of the night, so later on. It's always worth asking the restaurant managers what they can do at the time. But dining reservations will work just as they do today, so some availability will be held back so that when you get on board, you can start making some dinner plans. So best of luck if you are in one of those lock-it-in rates or those base fare rates. You might need a bit of extra luck to get a dinner reservation, but hopefully it's not all doom and gloom. The next question is about the Rockstar and the Mega Rockstar Suite cabin categories. Now, this is something I did gloss over in my explainer video, and I do apologize because there has been a lot of comments about this, but let me clear something up. So some of our viewers were really worried that if you booked a Rockstar or a Mega Rockstar suite and spent all of that money, why do you now have to compete with those that are in the lower level cabins that have simply paid an extra $45 a night for premium? Because we all get a 60-day dining window now, don't we? Well, actually, no. So this is something I neglected to mention. But now Rockstar and Mega Rockstar sailors will now have the chance to book their dining 120 days in advance of their sailing. That is a huge time window. And it is, of course, way higher than the premium fare window. So don't worry, if you've paid that extra to be a rock star or a mega rock star, you will always have the edge in booking dining. And that's one of the perks that you get by paying for those really expensive suites. And this is for every rock star and mega rock star. So even if you booked in the past, come the 7th of October, your dining window will be extended to 120 days. So you can start making your dining if your voyage is coming up in the next 120 days. Or if you're booking from the 7th of October onwards, you will get a 120 days dining window as well. Regarding other changes for Rockstar and Mega Rockstar, the only other thing to mention is that Mega Rockstars will now receive work from sea Wi-Fi. Another question on dining windows. Some people have messaged us to say, my dining window hasn't changed yet. It should be 60 days. It will be 60 days, but you're going to have to wait until the 7th of October. From what we understand, because there's obviously so many bookings in the system, they might need to do this over a period of time in batches. So we're not sure what time it's going to be on the 7th of October, and it could actually spill over into the following days. But don't worry, keep checking your app and you can see whether your dining window has been extended or not. But don't stress about it. You will be getting that 60-day dining window if you got one of those legacy bookings. Now, a couple of questions on Wi-Fi. So the first question that we have here is, are the Wi-Fi devices per cabin or per guest? So some of the Wi-Fi options, so for example, basic and classic, you get one device. Now that is one device per sailor, so do not worry, you're not going to have to sign in to one of your phones and then try and use that phone for every single thing you need to do on the internet. Don't worry, everyone gets one device. So you're able to log in on your phone, you'll have access to it. If you need any more than one device, then you're going to have to make sure that you're on the premium Wi-Fi or the work from sea Wi-Fi. If you head over to vvinsider.com, we have a full guide on all the Wi-Fi options and what they mean and how to use them. So if you've got any more questions about Wi-Fi in that regard, head over to the website. And here's a question related to something I've just mentioned, which is, why do rock stars only get classic Wi-Fi? And this is something, if you've seen the illustration, the grid laid out, this is quite confusing. So those choosing a lock-it-in rate or have chose the base VoyageFair choice, you get the basic Wi-Fi option. If you choose the essential fare, you get the classic Wi-Fi option, which is the one that we've all been used to today. If you move over to the premium fare option, you get premium Wi-Fi. Then if you step up and go to Rockstar, for some reason, you then get classic Wi-Fi. That doesn't really add up. And it's something that we did ask the Virgin Voyages leadership at the time. I do think that they need to revisit this. I don't know why the Rockstar rate are getting any less than the premium rate. I really struggle to understand this. But yes, you are just getting the classic Wi-Fi if you're sailing as a Rockstar sailor. Unless, of course, you've got your loyalty perks. If you're Deep Blue Extra, for example, you get your premium Wi-Fi anyway, so you don't need to worry about it. But if you're sailing as a rock star and you haven't built up that level of loyalty yet, you're going to start off with classic Wi-Fi and you'll have to pay if you want premium Wi-Fi or work from sea, for example. So it's a bit of a weird one, that, and something we'll be keeping an eye on because we're not sure that we understand that. Now, a couple of miscellaneous questions here. So one of them is all around the lock-it-in rate. So if you're not familiar with the lock-it-in rate, this is the sort of GTY guaranteed cabin category that Virgin Voyages have offered in the past. So this traditionally was always the most basic fare that you could possibly get. And it means that you don't get a cabin assignment, you'll get your cabin assigned before you sail. Now that lock-it-in rate plan is still available, but will now be limited to basically the perks or the lack of perks that you get with the base VoyageFair choice. So it's led people to worry and wonder whether their lock-it-in rate booking that they already have will be downgraded to these 15-day dining booking windows and the basic Wi-Fi. Well, actually, don't worry. If you booked before the 7th of October, and again, you still have time to do that if you want to, vvinsider.com/book. But if you book before the 7th of October on a lock-it-in rate, you still keep the same perks as you do today. So you'll still get the classic Wi-Fi just as normal. So if you book that lock-it-in rate before the 7th of October, it still very much works like one of the essential fare options. The only limitation is, of course, you're not able to make any changes or get it refunded. And of course, you won't know what cabin you'll be assigned until very much up to the point that you sail, lock it in terms as you're used to. A question we've been getting on gratuities: can I remove the gratuity on board? Well, the answer to this is yes, you can remove gratuities on board. But what will happen is you will need to speak with Sailor Services, and Sailor Services will try and rectify any service problems first. So they will only be removing gratuities as an exception, not the rule. Now, Virgin Voyages are trying to discourage people from removing gratuities because it is seen as a mandatory charge. So removing gratuities will be heavily discouraged. This is still an area that's a little bit unclear to us, so we'll be bringing you more information about this over the coming weeks. And then one last note on gratuities, which is if they're now separate, can you at least prepay them? Yes, if you're wanting to just get the gratuities out the way, it effectively just works like any other day in Virgin Voyages where you've just got the all-inclusive plan. Just prepay it before you go on board. If you prefer to have that all-included pricing, you're basically replicating it just by paying it with your voyage. If you prefer it that way, then just go ahead and pay everything together. Why not? So those are the frequently asked questions out the way. I just wanted to spend some time here before I close up just to let you know what we think about these changes, because it's something that we've been asked in private messages and things like that. And I'm very happy to talk about it. Look, we don't work directly for Virgin Voyages. We simply get the information out about Virgin Voyages. They don't pay us any money to do this, and we pay for the majority of the voyages that we're on. I will be honest, we have been invited on board a couple of times, which is very nice, but we still have our own opinions and we will always bring things to you as they are. We're certainly not dressing things up for the sake of it. We're presenting facts and information from Virgin Voyages. You can make your own opinions about these things, and you certainly do in the comments. And I will always encourage you to continue doing that as well. So here's what I think. The VoyageFair options, I think, make a lot of sense. Do I see the need for it? Not necessarily. Do I think it's a horrible thing? No, I don't, because actually it is nice to have the choice to pay less if you want to. And I think some people do like to be a little bit bougie and get those extra perks in there. And actually something that the Virgin Voyages leadership told us, which actually resonates, is that the data shows people are way more satisfied with a voyage if they prepay for things in advance. So things like the bar tab, for example, those that have a bar tab going into a voyage end up leaving the ship feeling way more satisfied than those that were paying for every single drink as they went along. But actually, the premium might make a lot more sense for those that just want to get the payment out the way. Get your premium Wi-Fi sorted, have a little bit of bar tab, have that flexibility and the peace of mind. Yes, it's more expensive, but some people don't mind paying that extra. Would we do it? Probably not. We'll probably stick with the base. We don't mind. But really, it's entirely up to you. If you feel like you'd rather pay less, pay less. If you think that you want that flexibility, then pay more. And crucially, if you're happy with the way things are, stick with the essential plan. Nobody's forcing you to do premium. So just stick with the essential plan. Yes, you're not able to swap the main sailor out, which is the one real drawback here. But other than that, you probably won't notice that much difference. We have heard a couple of people being a bit worried that because the premium now exists, then there'll be fewer dining options for everyone on essential. But if you think about it, there will be, of course, people choosing the base option as well. So you're not competing with the base people. So really, it does balance out. And I think in theory, we should see things not being the calamity that I think people are painting this out to be. So we'll just have to wait and see. I've said many, many times in the comments, and thank you for all your feedback. And I try to reply to everything that I possibly can. But one thing that I have been saying over and over again is it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out in October, because it will. Let's see what all of these changes actually mean in reality. Let's see how it all goes, and let's keep a close eye on the pricing as well. One thing I did want to mention is that I am a little bit confused about the gratuities thing, and I don't know whether this is a culture thing. We live in the UK. Tipping is not necessarily a thing here. I think we're still getting our head around having to tip people in restaurants, to be honest. So the idea of having gratuities separated on a vacation is just very alien to us. Obviously, we've cruised a lot in the past, so we kind of get it. But I know it will be quite an affront for those in the UK that aren't quite used to sailing, or anyone from a culture where tipping isn't necessarily a thing. Gratuities are one of those things that is a little bit of a mental hurdle for a lot of people when they're looking at the cost of a vacation. So there is a lot of feedback about gratuities, and honestly, I can see where you're coming from, I really can. But one thing I will say, getting very frank, I really honestly don't think these changes are as catastrophic as everyone is making out. People are saying, I will never book Virgin again, I'm going elsewhere. I would love to understand which cruise line you're going to, because honestly, everyone charges for gratuities. There are very few cruise lines that don't. And the cruise lines that don't, boring. They're not Virgin Voyages. The experience that you're going to get on board is going to be very, very different. I would love to know where you're heading if you're deciding not to sail on Virgin Voyages. Please tell me in the comments, because if there's this wonderful experience that you would get on Virgin Voyages, and it's cheaper and you're getting gratuities included and all the rest of it, I'd love to know, because I can take all of these things down and move over. Let me know. We'll be sticking with Virgin Voyages, and I'm not saying that because we get extra perks or anything like that. We'll be sticking around. You can count on that. But continue to let me know your feedback in the comments. And again, I'll try and reply to as many as I possibly can. And I'm sure there'll be tons more questions coming up over the next week or so. So if you've got any more questions that you'd like us to cover either in our article over on vvinsider.com, or you'd like me to address here on YouTube as well, then just let me know in the comments and we'll be taking a look at that. Now, remember, if you're like us and you're sticking with Virgin Voyages for now, and you want to make the most out of your next booking, then head over to vvinsider.com and we can make sure you get the best deal on your next Virgin voyage. And we'll also make sure you get those exclusive perks that I was telling you about as well. Okay, that's everything. But until next time, happy sailing.